Every word you speak in English today has been touched by one man. He never went to university. He grew up poor. He had no plan. And yet, William Shakespeare gave the world over 1,700 words we still use right now. This is his story. Welcome back to Plain Simple English, the channel where we tell real stories in clear and simple English to help you listen better, think deeper, and speak with more confidence. If you are new here, hello, and welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a story like this one. Today we are talking about William Shakespeare, not the textbook version, not just the plays and the quotes, but the real man. Where he came from. What he struggled with. And why, 400 years after his death, his words are still very much alive. So get comfortable. Let's begin. April, 1564. A small, quiet town in England called Stratford-upon-Avon. No skyscrapers. No traffic. Just wooden houses, muddy streets, and the gentle sound of a river. Into this ordinary world, a boy was born, William Shakespeare. His father, John, made and sold leather gloves at the town market. His mother, Mary, came from a farming family. They weren't wealthy, but they were hard-working and respected in the community. William was the third of 8 children. The house was always loud, full of noise, arguments, and laughter. But William was different. While other children played in the streets, William watched. He watched how people argued. How they laughed. How they cried. How they told stories around a fire. He was quietly collecting something, emotions, words, and human moments, storing them all somewhere deep inside. At age 7, he started school. No fancy building, just wooden benches and a very strict teacher. But what he discovered there lit a fire in him. He studied Latin, history, and the great stories of ancient Greece and Rome. And whenever traveling actors came to town and performed plays in the open street, William pushed to the front of the crowd, eyes wide open, completely alive. He didn't know it then. But he was already becoming a writer. By the time William was a teenager, life at home had changed. His father's business began to fail. The family that once lived comfortably was now struggling to pay debts. There were hard days, days without enough food, without enough money, and with too much worry in the air. William saw all of it. And instead of becoming bitter, he became observant. He understood early that life can change without warning, and that truth would later pour into every single one of his plays. Then, at 18, he fell in love. Her name was Anne Hathaway. She was 26, 8 years older than William. In those days, that was uncommon. But love is rarely logical, and William didn't care about what people thought. They married quickly. Within months, they had a daughter, Susanna. 2 years later, twins arrived, a boy named Hamnet, and a girl named Judith. At just 21 years old, William Shakespeare was a husband and a father of 3 children. He had no stable income. No inheritance. No clear path forward. What he did have was a restless mind full of stories, and the urgent need to do something with them. The question was, what? Here is where the story becomes fascinating, and a little mysterious. Between 1585 and 1592, 7 full years, historians have almost no record of Shakespeare's life. No letters. No court documents. No records of employment. Nothing. These are known as Shakespeare's lost years. Some historians believe he became a private tutor, teaching Latin to wealthy families. Others think he joined a traveling theatre company and learned to perform on stage. One old story even claims he got into serious legal trouble, accused of illegally hunting deer on a nobleman's land, and had to quietly leave Stratford before things got worse. The truth? We simply do not know. What we do know is this: when Shakespeare reappeared in the historical record in 1592, he was in London, and something had changed in him completely. London in the late 1500s was electric. Crowded, competitive, and full of ambition. Writers, actors, and poets all fighting loudly for attention and work. For a young man with something to prove, it was exactly the right place to be. Shakespeare started small, taking minor acting roles, studying the stage, watching how audiences responded. He observed people the way he always had. And slowly, almost quietly, he began to write his own plays. His early work was light, comedies that made people laugh and leave the theatre feeling good. But something bigger was stirring inside him. A deeper question. Could a play do more than entertain? Could it hold a mirror up to life itself, and make people feel something they had never felt before? The answer, as the world would very soon find out, was yes. By the mid-1590s, Shakespeare was a name that people in London's theatre world had started to notice. He joined a well-respected acting company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, and he wasn't just writing their plays, he was performing in them too. Then in 1599, something extraordinary happened. Shakespeare and his company built their own theatre on the south bank of the River Thames. They called it the Globe. Picture it, a huge, circular, open-air theatre with no roof over the central yard. Thousands of people crowded in for every performance. The poorest workers stood right in front of the stage. Wealthy nobles sat high in the covered galleries above. All of them together, watching the same story unfold. And on that stage, Shakespeare gave the world plays it would never forget. Romeo and Juliet, a love so powerful it defied family, reason, and fate itself. Hamlet, a man paralyzed by doubt, asking the questions every human being quietly carries. Othello, how jealousy, unchecked, can destroy even the deepest love. Macbeth, what happens when a man lets ambition run ahead of his conscience? These were not just entertainments. They were mirrors. Every person in that theatre saw something of themselves reflected back, their fears, their desires, their private failures, their impossible hopes. And the success was changing Shakespeare's life. He owned shares in the Globe, which meant money every time the doors opened. He published poetry that sold across England. He bought property. He purchased one of the grandest houses in Stratford, a home called New Place. The glovemaker's son had become one of the wealthiest and most celebrated writers in England. And then came the highest honor of all. When Queen Elizabeth I died in 1603 and King James I took the throne, many in the theatre world were nervous. Would the new king even like plays? He did, deeply. In fact, King James loved Shakespeare's work so much that he personally gave his company a royal title. They became the King's Men, the official performers of the royal court, protected and celebrated by the crown itself. Shakespeare had climbed as high as any writer in England could go. In 1611, Shakespeare did something that surprised everyone. He stopped. After nearly 20 years of writing plays that had moved kings, queens, and common people alike, he quietly packed his things and left London behind. He returned to Stratford. To his family. To the town where he was born. He walked through his gardens in the mornings. He sat beside the fire and read in the evenings. He spent long afternoons talking with his daughters, Susanna and Judith. Old friends and visitors from London would still come, seeking his advice, his company, his stories, and he always welcomed them warmly. But the urgency was gone. He had said what he needed to say. On April 23, 1616, after a short illness, William Shakespeare passed away. He was 52 years old. He was buried in Holy Trinity Church in Stratford, the very same church where, 52 years earlier, he had been baptized as a newborn baby. Before he died, he wrote a short verse to be carved into his gravestone, a final, quiet warning to anyone who might disturb his rest. Even in that last small act, the words were unmistakably, powerfully his. The town fell silent. London mourned. But the world had not yet fully understood what it had lost, or, more importantly, what it had been given. Here is what happened after Shakespeare died. Nothing stopped. His plays kept being performed. His books kept being read. His words kept traveling, first across England, then across Europe, then into every corner of the world. Today, more than 400 years later, Shakespeare's plays are still performed in every country on earth. His works have been translated into every major language. His stories have inspired thousands of films, novels, songs, and speeches. And the words he invented, or made popular for the very first time, are still in your mouth right now, whether you know it or not. Bedroom. Lonely. Generous. Eyeball. Addiction. Swagger. He gave us all of those. And hundreds more. Shakespeare understood something that no grammar book can fully teach. Language is not just rules and vocabulary lists. Language is feeling. It is the most powerful tool a human being has, and he used it better than anyone before him, or since. So what do we take from a life like that? A boy from a small town. No degree. No wealthy family. No connections, no blueprint, no guarantee. Just curiosity. Observation. Patience. And a deep, unshakable belief that words matter. If you are learning English right now, and I know many of you are, because that is exactly why this channel exists, I want you to hear something. You are not just learning a language. You are stepping into something 400 years in the making. Every time you find a better word, a clearer phrase, a more honest way to express what you actually feel, you are doing exactly what Shakespeare did. He started small too. He kept going. And the world remembered his name forever. Your turn. Start today. Stay curious. Keep going. If this story stayed with you, please hit the like button. It helps this channel reach more English learners around the world, and it means more than you know. Drop a comment below. Tell me, which Shakespeare title have you heard before? Romeo and Juliet. Hamlet. Even just a name counts. I read every single comment. And if you are new here, and you want to keep growing your English through real stories like this one, subscribe to Plain Simple English and hit the bell. A new story is always on the way. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.